All right, yeah. Good to go. All right. Hello and welcome back to the Rossi Brothers Sports Podcast. My name is John. I'm joined as always by my brother Adam. And today we are joined by a special guest, Sarah Barcello. Sarah was born and raised in Chandler, Arizona, where basketball was part of her life from a very young age. She's a three-time state champion and two-time state high school player of the year in Arizona, as well as a member of the National Honor Society. Sarah went on to attend college at Marist, where she continued to excel both in the classroom and on the court. She led the Red Foxes to a conference championship and NCAA tournament appearance, was named an all-conference player during her junior season, and was named to the conference all-academic team 3 times during her career. She is top 10 all-time at Marist with a career three-point percentage of 34.9%. Off the court, Sarah graduated with a psychology degree while minoring in social work. Over the past offseason, she made the jump to the opposite corner of the country to play basketball at San Diego State. Part of a basketball family, both of Sarah's parents played basketball, and all 3 of Sarah's siblings have played or are playing Division I college basketball. So welcome, Sarah, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're excited to have you on here.
For sure.
Yeah, so obviously, from reading your bio, it's apparent that basketball has been a part of your life for most of your life. However, despite growing up in a basketball family, we hear you also kind of initially wanted to play soccer and thought soccer might be your sport. How did your early athletic career and kind of feeling out, among different sports before kind of landing on basketball? How did that go for you?
Yeah, so actually, I fell in love with soccer, and it was always my first love in terms of sports. I was able to play that. It was funny because everyone else in my family was doing basketball, and so it was like, oh, whoa, she's the one that's not. And so my parents didn't really know how to handle that one, but it was
What?
fun.
Sport is not basketball?
Yeah,
What is
and so they
this?
were like, wait, what
You're
do
not
we do?
allowed to use your
Whatever.
hands.
Yeah, for real. And so they kind of just let me do my thing. And then eventually I was like, you know what? I kind of want to try basketball, see what everyone, loves about it. And then I made the switch in 5th grade. And then from there on, it was really just basketball through and through.
Well, so you were like all soccer all the time and then all basketball all the time. It wasn't like you were delving into one or the other at the same time.
There was one time I had gotten a friend to play on my soccer team, so she got me to play on her basketball team. It was like
Okay.
early on. And I remember I was so bored. I was like, I told my parents, I said, why did you sign me up for this? This is horrible. But that was the
And
only time.
so you thought it was boring playing basketball or
Yeah,
soccer?
basketball.
Basketball, okay.
I was like, this
Okay.
is so slow. Like, there's nothing going on. It's a tiny little court. Like, what is this?
Yeah. What do you think changed for you? How did it become fun?
I mean, part of it probably was because my siblings were doing it. Kind of got out of that like wham league, which was like not you could only guard half court. So it started getting more competitive the older I tried it. Um, and then I don't know, it just I really don't know, honestly, but probably just the more competitiveness as I got older and was able to play it.
Yeah. Huh. So you were pretty close with your brother Alex. Is he just a year older than you?
Yes, he is.
Okay, okay. And then you have a younger sister and an older sister that also played.
Yes.
So was it like it sounds like growing up in that family, it was like you were always at a basketball game or
Oh,
practice. Is that an accurate assessment?
oh, absolutely. Like I like joke with people because if I would hang out with my friends, they'd come with me on the weekend and we lived in the gym. So that was pretty much it. And then when I was playing soccer before I was like involved in basketball, I was never there. So I would be at my soccer games and then I get lucky if I could like get like dropped off at my brother's game and I'd sit on his bench and take stats or whatever it is. So, but yeah, lived at a gym, at games, you name it.
Nice.
Nice. Um, Talking about also the competitiveness of basketball at higher levels, being something you enjoyed from it. is that something that you also kind of shared within your family? Like, is there some level of competitiveness among siblings?
Oh, yes, for sure. I mean, you mentioned I was close with Alex, so we'd always work out together outside, just because we were close in age, and you know, we went at it. Whether it was we would play on a mini hoop inside, and it'd be Amanda and I versus him, or if it was out on the court and like all three of us would go against him. But it was super competitive.
Nice. Is there like do you have one of those like traditional Thanksgiving family basketball games or
We
any family
actually
traditions?
We actually didn't. It was just kind of like it was I want to say it was like all the time. Like really
Yeah.
whenever we were working out together, like we do any competition, and I figured out the way I'd beat Alex was okay, I'll outshoot him. He can beat me in one-on-one, but he's not gonna outshoot me. And so we'd piss each other off because we would beat each other and exchange games. But
Mm. So
I was gonna
improve
say you should.
not only the muscle, but like the brain muscle, the basketball IQ. Yeah,
oh,
you got to be a smart player to beat him.
oh, you had to be. Otherwise you're just gonna take L's all day.
Right, right. He's I understand he's playing in Greece right now,
Yes.
professionally. That's pretty
Mhm.
cool. Do you get to like see any of his games?
I personally don't. My schedule's pretty slammed, but
Yeah,
sure Julia or Amanda do.
yeah. Do you keep in touch with him? Like, does he tell you much about what it's like playing in Greece professionally?
No, he actually doesn't. Like I know, I mean, professionally it's super busy as well. So
Yeah,
like me personally, I'm hardly on my phone. So I really don't really talk to anybody. Hard to keep.
that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Not being
Yeah,
on your phone
definitely.
all the time. I did notice that Alex has a Wikipedia article. Do
He does.
you how long till you get one?
I'm not good. I don't know. He's the famous one of the family. We'll let him have that. I don't need that.
I
Like to
wonder if
be
you
in
ever
the
give him a hard
background.
time about that.
Yeah, I like to be in the background. It's all good.
Did so
You just set up a 3-point competition and then
exactly.
get one over on them that way. Anyway,
True.
sorry.
Having all of these siblings and two older siblings that played and excelled at basketball and two parents, um, was that ever difficult in any way? Did you ever like feel any pressure to perform because like all these people before you did? Talk to me about that dynamic at all. Was that, did you ever feel that? Was that ever present?
Yeah, I was actually very present. The first time, not so much with my parents playing, other than the fact of like they would teach us things, and my dad was pretty hard on us in terms of just, how we performed. But aside from that, like coming after them, I guess, was I felt that in high school.
Hmm.
Julia had done really well for 4 years at the high school I went to, and then she graduated, and the next year I was there. So
Hmm.
we played with each other for a summer in one
Hmm.
tournament. And there's some funny stories with that one. I'm glad I didn't play with her in high school, but um, anyways, but yeah, so that was like something I had to talk to my coach about, and she would treat me not only on the court but in person as the same way she treated Julia. And I was like, I appreciate that. Like I love Julia, don't get me wrong, but I'm nothing like her. And like I pride myself in finding my own identity. But there were definitely pressures of like, Julia did this and accomplished all this. But I came in and I was like, look, I want to be my own player. I'm gonna be my own person, whether you like it or not. And being different positions, I think also helped that. But just the fact that she was also very successful on the court and off the court too was a bit big pressures. But
Hmm.
yeah,
Gotcha. Were you so did you say you were playing against each other for like one small period of time, or were you on the same team but like practicing against each other?
we were on the same team. So I was playing on like the JV team in a
Uh-huh.
tournament when I was in like seventh and eighth grade. She was on the varsity team,
Hmm.
and the coach pulled me up for one game. It took not even like 5 minutes for it to ruin it, but she put us in together, and she had like outletted the ball. I was sprinting up the court to go for a layup, and she threw the pass like abnormally fast and long. No one was gonna get it. And she's like, Sarah, you're supposed to get that. And I was like, nobody That's like literally not humanly possible to get that ball. So we're already arguing, and my coach is like, "Yeah, good thing you guys are playing together." But it was fun. Like it's friendly competition, all that type of stuff. But I was like, Julia, are you serious? Like, come on, this is my first varsity game. Like, jeez. But
Kind of kind of reminds me of when I went to St. Michael's School, RIP, and I think I was in like second grade, and Cecilia was in pre-K. Does that check out? Or like she was in kindergarten, I was in third grade. I forget the exact
Yeah, that's
difference
roughly
there. But I would like have
the
to pick her up.
difference, I
Not
think.
really pick her up, but like the teach like we would stand during dismissal in that like hallway on like the ground floor. And I forget why this is a thing, but like she would be like the teacher would take her there and I would have to hold her hand until we like left together.
Uh,
And I remember for like no apparent reason at all, I would like squeeze her hand like really hard. And I look back and I'm like, why? Like there's absolutely no explanation for that. And she still gives me, I wouldn't say she gives me a hard time about it. I usually bring it up more than her. I'm like, sorry, Cecilia, I don't really know why I did that. But maybe it's just this like older sibling has to like assert themselves. It's like the alpha. I'm in charge. But yeah, oh well. Anyway, being an older sibling, I guess I can't relate. I can relate to like the other side, but
okay.
sorry
I was gonna
if
say, I can,
that's
as the
yeah.
younger sibling, I can relate. Um, yeah, being having to experience that. I don't know. I think we're a little too much of an age gap, Adam, you and I, to like have
Yeah.
played on the same team of anything.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I guess the closest thing would be like running,
Hmm.
but which I think you enjoy a lot more than I do. Anyway, uh,
Well, it's funny. I ended up being the older sibling to my younger sister when we played in high school. So I
Okay.
had both dynamics.
Okay. And
did you did
so
you
you
give her a
played
couple of hard passes as well?
Yeah, so I actually I was one of two captains, and my one of my best friends was the other one. I was like, look, I would try to like correct her in things, and I was like, this isn't gonna work. We're living together, like we're going to school together, and we're playing together. You have to deal with her. So I didn't even like address anything with my sister. I kind of made that I drew a line very quickly, so it didn't
yeah.
get easy.
Gotcha.
We're
And
just too
you
Yeah,
competitive,
it's a wise
honestly.
decision.
Yeah, but
were
very
you how many years were you on the same high school team?
1 year, my senior year, and it
Okay.
was my freshman year.
Okay. That's
Gotcha.
like me and Cecilia. I ran one
Yeah.
year with her. Cool, cool.
Which was fun. Don't get me wrong, but like we're just too competitive, and like I saw her potential, and so I had to reel it in, and I knew that, but also
Hmm.
she needed to also kind of like, yes, you're a freshman, but you're also going to start for us, so like, come on, and you're a point guard.
Oh wow. I didn't know she's a point.
Hmm.
So you all kind of played different positions
Yeah, the only
then.
ones who overlap are Alex and Amanda.
Okay. Oh, super cool. Shifting gears just a little bit. Maybe one unique aspect about your experience, what your siblings, everyone, the whole world's had to deal with. But I want to take it back to Friday, March 13th. On that day, the NCAA canceled its basketball tournaments due to the coronavirus pandemic. You guys, Marist, was 26-4 at that point, and we're sitting at first place in the conference. Um, Take us back to that moment. What was that like? What was running through your head? That was pretty unprecedented.
Yeah, I will always remember that day. It was actually like one of the craziest days. But we were actually scouting our opponent, who we were going to play, I believe, in the semifinals. Um, and you start getting notifications on your phone, like the Ivy League cancels, blah, blah, blah. And like we're all looking around, and you see all the important people in the building start talking and coming together, and we're like, oh no. So eventually our tournament got canceled mid tournament. They stopped the game in the middle of the court, and then they pulled us all into the thing and was like, we're done, season's over. And we're like, what the heck? Like nobody knew what was going on. But yeah, so that was like in a blink of the eye, everything was done, and we were actually expected to win. Like And I'm 100% confident that I would say we were going to win that tournament and get to the NCAA tournament that year. We had some seniors that we were gonna get them there, but yeah. And then after that, I flew home that next morning because they were like, no, we don't want any of you guys to get stuck on the East Coast. Like, go home. So I like full on packed up my room at school and I left, and then didn't come back for like months. But that's a
Wow.
general thing of that. But it was very bizarre.
Were you playing on the court then? Like, was your game stopped mid game, or is that another tournament game?
No, it was a different one. We were going to be playing the winner of it. So we were all sitting in the stands, like scouting this and that. And like, it was so
Gotcha.
weird. It felt like the world was going in slow motion because you just see all these people just like leaning over, talk, like everyone, some people were crying. Like, it was so, so weird.
Wow. And it sounds like it happened so quick. It was
It's like
probably
kind of surreal.
hard to process like in that moment because 48 hours later you're in Arizona. You're like, that
Yeah.
just happened.
No,
Um,
totally.
Did you have, sorry, am I okay? Sorry. I was gonna say, did you have like any clue at that point when you would get to play basketball again? Like what kind of following that in the like off season leading up to the next season, what
Yeah.
was all of that like?
I mean, obviously I was online for school, so like my coaches were in constant contact with us of like, this is kind of what's going on. The rules in Arizona versus New York were much different. So like I was like, nothing's going on here, but you guys are like super locked up. And so it was kind of like I didn't really know because it was getting to be normal faster in Arizona. But yeah, they were just talking to us. They were hoping to have a summer session, as we always did, but it just kept getting kept getting pushed back. Oh, we'll see you in a week. We'll see you in 2 weeks. So it was kind of just like um, play it by ear. And I was at home, so that was nice. Weirdly, COVID was a blessing in disguise for me personally, but yeah, no, it was random. And then I found out we got to go back to school, and that year was probably worse than getting the season canceled, I would say.
hmm.
So,
You mentioned COVID being a blessing in disguise for you. Explain that.
I mean, personally, it allowed me to grow in areas that I needed to grow, be around people who loved me, and kind of reset myself as a person, but also physically. Like, you're going the moment you start playing college basketball, it's like your body is just it's on the downhill.
Hmm.
So getting break to just like be a regular person and kind of get healthy again is like it was much needed.
Um, so the transition from that then into you eventually did play the following season in 2020, 2021.
Mhm.
And you guys that season I think was probably a very different experience. Your schedule, you played opponents on back-to-back days.
Yes.
Um, what I'd imagine for a lot of the season anyway, there weren't fans in the stands. Talk to me about that particular basketball season. What was different about it? What was weird? What was fun? What was not fun? What were your impressions of that season?
Yeah, do you want the long version or well, I can try to keep it short. But there was just so much. Like some of the things we did, you guys would not believe it. Like we were trying to do a preseason. We weren't allowed to be in the gym because we weren't allowed to have more than like we had pods. So like whoever you lived with, that was your pod. And you can
Hmm.
have more than four people in that. So we weren't allowed in the gym. We went on campus to an outdoor court
Wow.
and what we weren't allowed to pass the ball to each other. So we all had our own balls with our own names on it. We practiced outside doing drills where you could only touch your own ball. Um,
Wow.
and then also after every like 10 minutes, we were sanitizing the balls, even though no one else was touching them. So that was like preseason. They let us in the gym. We were only allowed in our like quote unquote pods. Again, we could only have one coach. You could pass it with each other. You had to mask, and then they would sanitize them like I swear to God every 5 minutes. And then so we were working through that, getting tested. And then finally, once they started letting us, like, actually, we were like, okay, we're going to have a season, like, we need to practice. We started with masking and tested 3 times a week, and we continued that throughout the year. But we eventually got to no masking, which was nice. But then playing games, like, we, so no one on my team ever got COVID during that year, thankfully.
Wow.
And our school did a really good job of protecting us for that. However, we would play teams and one of them would get test positive and then we would have to quarantine. And that was back when it was 14 days. So we never had to quarantine for our own end. It was always because of them. And then like living situation, they moved us, I think 7 times throughout the year.
Wow.
We were in a full on bubble, but they were trying to move us all into like one area of campus because we literally like that whole time I did not see anybody except for the gym in my room and my teammates. I didn't go home for Christmas that year. We were actually quarantined over Christmas. I was able to spend it with one teammate.
Wow.
But yeah, that was bizarre. It was just absolutely crazy. And then we made it. It was going to be 2 weeks before our tournament games, and they made us mask the last couple of games because they said that if we were to test positive, we'd obviously miss the conference. So at that point, I was like, I don't care. I'll mask like literally everywhere and I'll stay in the locker room if that's what you want me to do. Like, we're going to make this tournament. Um, but my props to my team, they did a phenomenal job. We followed all the rules and we ended up winning that year. So we were like, if we got this far and we did all that crap to get here, we're not losing. And you could obviously see it in just how that championship game went. But
For sure.
Yeah.
Wow. Was that when you played St. Peter's and beat him by like 60? It was like a complete blowout.
yeah, and then on top of that, so we played them I didn't even talk about the back-to-back games. That was crazy. I've never done that, but we also bussed everywhere. So we would play a game either at home or away, bus back, whatever, play them the next morning or day. So physically on the body, that was a lot, but we made it work.
I was gonna ask that combined with the like much different like off season and preparation.
Mhm.
I don't know if do you think like endurance wise, just like building up, it took a while to get back into like basketball shape longer. I get, I mean, like with the sort of shortened, like preseason, I guess, essentially,
Um,
or is that
it was
not so much?
honestly, it wasn't really much an issue, but like I tell you, when we wanted to win, like from when we lost or didn't get that opportunity the year before.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we were quarantined, like we were begging our coaches, like, hey, can you drop off like a bike? Can you drop off weights? And so we were constantly working out. Like we could run outside. So we were all like, we were doing a good job with that. Me personally, like I made sure I was staying in shape because I'm like, we're gonna come back. Like just because we paused for 14 days does not mean my coach is gonna like take it easy the first couple. Like we're about to hit the floor running, and we did. And with that came injuries. Like I came off of a 14-day quarantine and got a stress reaction like within days because I wasn't playing basketball for that long. So, um, and then I ended the season with an injury, which is also fantastic. But
Yeah. Seems like something you've battled a little bit in your career, which maybe we'll ask you about in a second. But just to clarify, I didn't think I picked that up until you said it, that you weren't playing like 2 games in a row on back-to-back days at Marist. You were playing one at Quinnipiac and then coming back to Marist playing the next one on. So it was like home and home on back-to-back
I
days.
believe so. I not actually like thinking back, I can't really remember because it was just a blur. But no, we would. But even if we did go play, we would bus back. Like I specifically remember, like we would play a game, and we'd all get in the car as soon as we could. We bus back. They're talking to us about nutrition on the way back. We'd stretch out. Like it was absurd.
That is pretty insane.
Yeah.
And that was your life for like, I mean, college basketball season's kind of long. That's like November till April because you made the tournament. That was what it was like.
Yeah, like I'm not kidding you. Like we were in a bubble, and I know a lot of people say they were in a bubble, but like we actually stuck to it. Like there were, we did not see anybody unless it was us, and we weren't allowed to go anywhere, like even through drive-throughs. So
Wow.
it was literally the gym, home, and I mean, we got to move 7 times, which was horrible, but no, that was like the most exciting thing we had going on.
Gee, how, I mean, yeah, I'm not sure I could do that. That's quite an experience. Looking back on it now, um, what would you say you learned from all of that?
What I learned? I feel like I learned a lot of things. Well, to be fair, I don't think any of us knew we were signing up for that before we went into it. But then we
Sure.
started learning. We were like, okay, this is what it is. We're just gonna go with it. Um, I mean, I learned the value of like family. I think that was the hardest thing that me and my teammates went through was just not being able to see family at all. So that, and then just, I mean, discipline, which we were all disciplined to begin with, but that's like a whole nother level. Like you're asking what, 12, 13 girls in college to sacrifice. Like we were doing things that like NBA teams were doing, and we weren't getting paid for it outside of like our scholarship, which again, very thankful for. But it was just, I don't know. I learned a lot of things. I could go in and that like through many small things, but those are probably the two biggest things that I learned.
Well,
Gotcha.
quite a
Wow.
unique situation and experience. You mentioned your family. When were you finally able to see your family again?
I mean, so we had made the tournament and played Louisville. We lost. They flew us home that night, like within hours, and I had already booked the flight once we lost to come back home. So I went from Texas to New York right back. I had to
Wow.
get an MRI, so I stayed around for a little bit, but then I booked it home and I was like, sorry, I'm going online the rest of the semester, which they all kind of knew. Like they knew our situation, the campus knew our situation. So they were willing to work, but at that point I was like, I need to go home. I've been around you guys, like kind of like it's a little bit of scarring and PTSD. Like I gotta get out of here.
For
So,
sure. For
Yeah, no,
sure.
100%.
and on top of that, I actually flew home. So my teammates stayed. I had to get surgery, so I flew home to get a surgery taken care of.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man. A lot that you didn't sign up for right
Yes,
there. I mean,
but I mean, we won.
Yeah. Wow.
yeah, got to hang the
Some may
banner.
say, yeah, some may say it wasn't worth it, but I was like, look, it is what it is. We did what we did, and we were not going to lose. So,
Well, it's an incredible amount of
Yeah,
like
that's for sure.
focus and tenacity to stick through that all those barriers, put in your way to finally say like, boom,
yeah.
that's what it was for. We accomplished our goal.
Hmm.
Yeah. Sorry
Good,
if you
John.
had something else, Adam. Oh, I
Uh,
was gonna say, unless you do have anything else on this like kind of topic. Otherwise, I was gonna switch gears
Mine
slightly.
was somewhat non
Yeah.
sequitur. I guess I was just thinking, even without COVID and injury and whatever, like Marist, compared to some of your siblings, like your brother went to Arizona initially, your sister to BYU, like I mean, Arizona's pretty close. BYU's, somewhat adjacent, but like Marist is a long way from Phoenix, Arizona metro area. Like,
Yeah.
how did you decide to go to upstate New York? And I guess your sister Julie did the same thing,
Hmm.
going all the way out there.
I mean, what's funny in my recruiting, I was like, I'm never gonna go on the East Coast, and then there I was on the East Coast. But I don't know. I personally, I was horrible in the recruiting process. I hated it, and I would like my high school coach was like, if you don't call these 5 coaches, you're not allowed to practice. Like, you can't do that. You can't practice until you do that. And I was
Wow.
like, so like I had to get it done. I just didn't really like talking to them. It's like the same thing over and over again. But so that happened, but whatever. So I went on my visit. I did a couple of visits with my brother, like unofficially,
Mhm.
up in California, but I went to Marist. They were my first official visit and I loved it. I love the different or the balance between school and academic or school and basketball. I value school probably more than I value basketball. So that was, that drew me there, and then I fell in love, and I committed on the visit by the end of the last day. So it was far, but honestly, like I needed that just to grow and to become independent. So I don't ever regret my decision, even though it ended pretty roughly for them and I, but it's all good.
Well,
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess maybe kind of next thing we wanted to ask about a little bit is um sort of transferring, and so you kind of, right, I guess it's been a thing more recently in college basketball, the changes to rules around transferring and the kind of new transfer portal, how all of that works. Um, right. So now you're playing for San Diego State. What was that like process like of kind of going through the transfer? Just like an initial kind of overview of how it worked.
Okay. Before I get there, I'm just gonna very brief summary of my senior year because I literally dropped off the grid for a year.
Okay. Yeah.
okay.
Just to explain, because it also leads up into how I got to San Diego State.
For sure.
Yeah.
So
Certainly.
back my junior year, I tore my labrum right before the conference tournament. So I found out after we played Louisville, I had a torn labrum, and was playing on that for a couple games. But anyway, so I had gotten surgery. I didn't actually play my senior year at all. I wasn't a part of the team either. They dismissed me for some interesting reasons. But so I basically was supposed to come back in 6 months. I wasn't able to come back in 6 months. It was going to take me 12 months. My coach was not happy with that decision by my doctor, so he chose to dismiss me. Again, very random. But anyways, so it actually, during that year when I wasn't doing anything, I was ready to just call it. And I was so over it. I was like, I just played for 3 years and they just completely dismissed me. Like that played a part of it. Being injured all the time played a part of it. But I took a break and I finally realized like, I am missing it. So I decided to enter the portal. It was right after their season had ended in March. And I had no expectations going into the portal. I personally was like, I'm kind of doing this for me. I have no idea if people are going to have interest. I said, I knew I had dropped off the grid for a year. Nobody knew my story. There were no articles out. And then on top of that, it was kind of my coach's word versus me. And we had very different stories of what had actually happened. So I went in and I was like, whatever, let's just see how it goes. Like at this point, I'll play the Division 3. Like I don't even care. So I put my name in, and then within like 30 minutes, I was getting emails. Like, and then it just like the longer I was in, the more emails I was getting. And I had beat a lot of people to the portal because they were still in like postseason and stuff. But so I did get like a lot of interest from schools I didn't get interest in, my first time around. But you name it, NAIA, Division 3, 2, 1, like all levels. Like it was absolutely crazy, and I didn't know how to handle it because I did not expect this.
Yeah.
It sounds a little overwhelming.
Yeah, it
I
totally
must
was.
say, yeah.
It totally was. And then like on top of that, I had 2 years of eligibility left. So I didn't have just one. And so then that gained even more interest because, why bring in someone with 1 year when you can bring in someone for 2 years? So, and then with San Diego State, that one, like it was always meant to be, I swear, because one of my assistant coaches now had reached out. I happened to be in California for spring break, totally unrelated, but he was like, hey, like, would you want to, schedule to meet, blah, blah. I was like, I'm actually in California. Like, do you want to just do an unofficial visit? So did that. Like I said, everything worked out perfectly fine. And then kept going through the recruiting process with other schools. And then eventually they had offered me, and I was like, I did my research on the academic side. I was like, this is where I want to be. I absolutely loved all the coaches, loved what they were trying to do with the program. And the rest is, I committed almost immediately after because I knew that's where I wanted to be. And here I am.
Wow. I'm so glad you ended up where you are now and seem pretty happy with
Yeah,
that. And yeah, a whole new season plus to look forward to, kind of a fresh start on
definitely.
uh, on the left coast out there and a little closer to home. So
But yes, much closer.
yeah. Um, man, so it seems to me I'm not an NCAA expert by any means, but it seems before the days of the portal, maybe in your situation, the way it would have worked out is if you transferred. I think the rule was you had to sit out a year
Yeah.
if you transferred. It seems like in your situation, maybe you would have you and your coach at San Diego State would have appealed the NCAA rule because you had an injury and like had already sat out a year. Um,
Hmm.
but I guess they're being a fan of sports, there are people out there who criticize the portal
Oh yeah.
for, it's yeah, you're aware of that, of course. But how would you respond to someone who would criticize the portal for encouraging players to transfer?
I mean, like part of me would, I agree with them to a certain extent. Like if people are just, unhappy with, oh, I didn't play like I wanted to play or didn't kind of get everything they wanted and then they just kind of up and left. Like I agree with that. But
Hmm.
there's a lot of players who sadly have had some, either injuries or not even issues, but just things happen at the school where it's in their best interest that they do leave for
Hmm.
their, mental, physical health.
For
And
sure.
I would just say, like, be open to that. Like, it's not all just people think, oh, the grass is greener on the other side. It's like, no, like I could have transferred halfway through my career at Marist. I chose not to. I chose to finish what I had started, and then I got the opportunity that I had 2 more years with COVID and a redshirt, and I was like, you know what? Like, I kind of want to just try something else, and or even for students who value school and they have no master's programs there, like they want to go somewhere.
Hmm.
Because I was a couple of my teammates as well, like they wanted to continue playing, but Marist didn't have a school to offer to them. So, um, you know, there's both sides of it. I see both sides of it and I understand because I've had people do it for both reasons.
Hmm.
But yeah, I guess I would just argue that of like it's kind of case by case, and sometimes it's life saving for people more than you would think.
And your case is a perfect example of that.
Hmm.
The way
Do
it,
you
oh, you, John.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, do you think like so it seems like the actual mechanism of doing it, um, right, obviously is a lot more opportunity, like you were saying, of just like getting a bunch of emails more or less immediately. Um, do you think that, works pretty well? Do you think that like the overwhelming nature of it, I don't know if there'd be some adjustment you might um see that could help that aspect of it, or that that's kind of unavoidable for allowing more opportunity to be able to transfer when you know is in a situation like yours or something. um I don't know, I guess I'm just trying to ask like the actual mechanism of it. Do you think that functions well? Are there some changes you think would make sense um in that regard?
I
Sorry, I
mean,
don't know if that makes sense.
no, it does. And that's a good question. I mean, I thought it worked well for me. Yes, it was overwhelming, but like that's recruiting in general. Um, it's also different when you're transferring because, and when you've been through it, like you're looking for different things than a freshman or going into college. Like it's just, you know, there's a difference in maturity. And so it's like, okay, cut to the chase. Like it is what it is. So I wasn't really having like a bunch of like superficial conversations with coaches.
Hmm.
They acknowledged that I had already been through the process and they're like, okay, what do you want? This is what we have. Do they align? So like they kind of cleaned it up on their end because they know like we're not going to waste your time and we don't want you to waste our time type thing. But yeah, I mean, I don't really see much area to improve in that. Like maybe there are, but I think with just COVID and everyone having an extra year, it just I think it adds to the craziness. I think if that once that those people graduate, like the last ones with COVID years, I think it'll settle down in the portal.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Now, being at San Diego State, kind of a cool new beginning here. Choose eligibility left. What are you looking most forward to as you're about to begin your season here at San Diego State?
I mean, on as cheesy as it sounds, I was looking forward to everything. Like, you know, change of staff, just different people. I absolutely love the master's program I'm in, so I was looking forward to that. Getting to play again. I like looked it up, and I think the last time I played was like 530 something days ago.
Wow.
So like just getting the opportunity to be on the court again, even if it's in practice, and to learn a new system, like literally you name it. Being in San Diego, like I was looking forward to that, like from top to bottom. I've always been excited to finally get here, and now I'm here, so I'm just trying to enjoy the moment.
Super cool.
What are you studying for your master's?
I'm getting a master's in education counseling, and I'll actually graduate in July. So I have
Wow.
a
Nice.
then I have to do another program next year. So
Okay, wow.
Gotcha.
Um,
Awesome.
so would you be like a counselor in a school? Is that what you want to do?
actually no. So I actually want to be a clinical psychologist and a sports psychologist. So these are just kind of like stepping stones towards a PhD.
Okay.
So
Wow. You got big dreams off court
mhm.
and on the court. Pretty cool. You wanted to ask you your battle with injuries and your transfer kind of covered both those there, and those kind of go hand in hand. But in terms of dealing with, I mean, you dealt with COVID, also dealt with some pretty serious injury yourself. I'll ask you the same question I asked about COVID. What have you learned from that experience?
What have I learned? I guess I mean I always knew I loved basketball, but like I think I now know that's never gonna go away. Because I've dealt with a lot of injuries. I know a lot of people have, but like I was thinking about it the other day and looking back, it's like breaking my nose, concussion, foot
Sure.
surgery, shoulder surgery, like all this stuff, right? And I don't say that as a pity. Like you know, with basketball, injuries are gonna happen. Like it's not a sport that we're really meant to play. But I don't know. So I learned just, my love for it, that it's gonna be consistent, but also to like the way I think I'm learning now and I'm finally getting there of just like how to take care of my body, especially being the fifth year. Um, being young, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just gonna get back early. Like it doesn't matter. But now it's like there's so many games. It's a long season, and also too like I have life after basketball, and I really like I want to be able to be active when I'm older. So just learning to be smart, I guess, is probably the most recent thing I'm learning and getting there.
Well, the wisdom of a sage, but the skills of a youth. It's got the best
Yeah,
of both worlds there.
I'm telling you, if you knew me how I handled my first surgery versus how I handled this surgery, like it was a whole two opposite ends of the spectrum. So
Such is life. You got to live
Wow.
through it to learn from it, I guess.
exactly.
You mentioned life after basketball. Is coaching something is ever on your mind, or you're just kind of in the moment right now and not thinking about that?
No, I've always wanted to coach.
Yeah.
And I have coached a little bit the past couple summers.
Cool.
So I will be not at the college level. Right now, I think I'm going to coach boys high school basketball. So,
Sweet. Why boys?
Nice.
I mean, I'm a female. Don't get me wrong. Like I love women's sports, but it's just a different game. There's different components you think of. Like I don't know. A lot of times when people think of female sports, they're like, oh, they're so emotional, and it's like yes, to a degree. But I don't know. I kind of like how it's kind of clear cut on the men's side, if that makes any sense. But
Hmm.
and a little bit of different of a game. So it intrigues me, and I've liked it so far in my couple summers I've helped out with it.
Okay. Well,
Nice.
we're
Also, in terms of like sports psychology, do you think that's something you'd want to apply specifically to basketball, or more broadly across sports?
I think it's something I would hope to get into basketball at some point, but I'm open to anything in terms of sports. I just love sports in general. I think it's a great, part of life, and it's a big part of a lot of college students' life. So wanting to be there and help out.
Super cool. Super cool. Well, we're getting close to time. That kind of leads into a good question that we like to ask all our guests at the end. But before I let John ask that one, I want to ask you one more. I read somewhere when I was reading about you that you like to hike and you like the outdoors. Um, I will say that you're from one of my top 5 favorite states in the United States. Good old Arizona there in the Four Corners to the Southwest. Let's go, baby, represent. But yeah, tell me about some of your favorite places to hike down there or anywhere.
I mean, recently because of injuries, I haven't been able to hike. But I'm
Good
more of
stuff.
like more on the outdoorsy side. Like I love skiing. I can't wait
Okay.
to do that when I'm done with college basketball.
Yeah.
And I love doing that in like northern Arizona. So
Mm. Been to the Arizona Snow Bowl up there near
mhm,
Flagstaff.
yes. But
Super cool.
hiking Sedona. Sedona's probably
Mm.
my favorite. Anywhere
Yeah.
in
And they have a good song too to go with it, so you can like get in the mind frame while you're driving there on the road trip. But
Yes,
super
definitely.
cool. Well, I wish you many,
Sure.
many happy years of skiing and hiking and outdoorsness
Thank
upon
you.
graduation,
Yeah,
and perhaps even before as well. Go ahead, John.
100%. Yeah. Um, yeah. So, like I said, kind of just want to finish things up here, but we usually just have a general question we like to ask all our guests. Um, so, just kind of broadly to you, Sarah, why are sports important?
Say that again. I think you cut out.
Oh, sorry. Why are sports important?
Why are sports important? I think it gives a lot of opportunity to people. It gives them an outlet, and I would say that's the biggest thing is an outlet. It's a positive thing in people's lives, and they can always turn to it to, get a smile. Sometimes laugh. There's definitely some laughs in sports, but I would say it's a good opportunity and outlet.
Gotcha.
Boom, boom. Drop the mic.
That's all
Well,
I got.
that's awesome. Well, thanks so much, Sarah. Super, super
Of
appreciate
course.
your time, especially at the
Awesome.
beginning of what's sure to be a busy, eventful season for you. Wish you all the best there at San Diego State. Go
Thank you so
Aztecs.
much. Yes, go
Yeah,
Aztecs.
absolutely. Thank you.
Cool. Well, also thank all the listeners out there from the Colorado Rockies to the banks of Missouri. We thank all the listeners from points in between and not in between. Until next time, he's John and I'm Adam. Stay classy, Frostburg.